Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are, another nice episode on the podcast show, and I've got a guest who's been on many times. Always welcome, always great entertainment, and always great factual deliverer of what's necessary and what's needed within the industry. So we've got a few challenges at the moment facing us all, and the person I'm talking about is none other than Mervyn Walker, who was the ex-COO with Menzies and is now the special advisor to the CEO. So Mervyn, welcome back again, sir.
Christopher, I was looking around there. I was thinking you were sort of queuing up someone else, but there's just me here. So it must be here. Must be me. And do you know what? I was just thinking, Christopher, it's International Women's Day. I probably should have got you one of our great female leaders instead of an old fart like me. But you can maybe talk to one of the great female leaders we have next time. But anyway, happy International Women's Day.
Well, what a great day. What a great day for us to be on, when we've got so much respect for the wonderful ladies that support the industry and run the industry. So, yeah, well done. And well done for reminding me.
And, you know, and I was thinking about this morning, reading all the LinkedIn posts. So we have now over 30% of women. So in our senior leadership team, more than 30% of them are women, and we're aiming for 40%.
Yeah.
And we recently put over 100 women through a special women in leadership program. So obviously we believe it's not rocket science. We believe the more diverse we are, the better Menzies is. And the more women we have in leadership, the better Menzies is. So we're going, so 30 odd percent today, 40% shortly of our leadership population are women.
Right. It doesn't mean that you're going to change the name of the company, though, does it?
Yeah, it's too early in the morning where I am, Christopher. That one's much too smart for me, but I get the point. Yeah.
Menzies. Yeah. All right. No problem. Yeah, a little play on words there. No, brilliant. But that's a great thing to do. And at the end of the day, I remember somebody saying to me a long time ago, it's like families. You know, you need old, you need young, you need all kinds of people to make it all click. And like you said, you know, then at the end of the day, you get the best out of it. So, yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Now, on your travels, so if you look at LinkedIn now, you must be a candidate for and people that are not of our age, Mervyn, probably wouldn't remember Alan Wicker, but he used to go around the world. He used to go around the world when most people couldn't, and he'd give a snapshot into certain destinations. Now, you've had the same on your travels, and I applaud you for what you're doing, because you're showing feet on ground presence and you're actually seeing and meeting people who are doing the work with the products that are making your organisation so successful. So one of the things I just wanted to ask you is, from your extensive coverage of that network, your network, and as it's growing, and considering the current challenges on the business, if you could go back to a younger model Mervyn, what would you change and why?
Gosh, Chris, I think you've got 22 minutes. If you want me to go through what I would change and all the mistakes I've made, I think you know, I could put Tolstoy to shame. So briefly, I think if I could look back to a younger Mervyn Walker, I would say to him, you know, can you hear as well as listen? You know, I don't think I heard all the messages. I listened, but I didn't always hear. So I'm not sure he would even listen today, but that's one thing I would say. And also, like, you remember, you were Lufthansa. I was our biggest back then, and then Servicer and Menzies. In those days, the relationships with the union were difficult. You know, it was more like a binary 1-0, 0-1. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? It was very confrontational. And, you know, when you think back, it didn't need to be that way. We have much, much, much more in common that unite us and bind us and sort of keep us apart. So if I was to advise the young Mervyn Walker with no grey hair, I would say, you know, hear as well as listen. And when you're dealing with unions and you're dealing with those sort of industrial relations issues, focus firstly on what you have in common and what unites you before you get to the more difficult issues, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, Mervyn. It was some difficult times back then, and It was like a scoring system, and you almost felt it as soon as you walked into the room.
But I think it's changed. It's definitely changed within Menzies, and we now want to focus on what we agree on, which is most things. We agree on, looking after people. We have recently given all our team a pledge, all 45,000 people, that we will get the rosters out a month in advance. We turn around holiday requests every day. We'll turn around shift swaps every day. We'll hear grievances within 72 hours. You'll see the manager in the workforce every day. We'll have regular town halls. You get your uniform in day one, pay, etc. So we've given all the guys a pledge. So no, the unions and Menzies are on the same page.
Yeah, no, that's and like you say, I mean, it's not nuclear science, is it, Mervyn? It makes sense, doesn't it? The more common ground you can find, the easier it's going to be, when you're addressing challenging issues.
No, it is. It is basic psychology. Focus on what you agree, which is probably 9 things out of 10. And then after you've agreed all that and it's positive, then you can think on the things that maybe you want to tweak that you both have a slightly different opinion on. So, I think that's we're better at today that I was very, very poor at when I look back to the younger version of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned there about, having the rosters out in a sensible amount of time, because at the end of the day, people have got to look after their lives. And if they're getting pressures from that side, it doesn't make it easier and more engaging to go into work when you know that you're getting grief when you get home because of your work.
No. When we look at why people leave us, when we look at sort of why we have a bit of staff turnover in some places, of course, money's important, but money's not top. Usually rosters are top because people need to plan their lives. Yeah. They need to go to the Parent Teachers Association. They need to go watch their child play football or play hockey. They need to go to the dentist. They need to get the car serviced. They need to take the dog to the vet. They need to do all that stuff. So, the roster is probably number one. And then really where the company's going, like, do people understand where the company's going? What's the culture of the company? How do you treat the people? And money, so roster, culture, how you treat people, how you communicate, and money. If we can get all those things right, we will be world class.
Yeah, no, you're right there. And I think the storyline, the culture, the strategy, the tactics, the storyline, people need to understand and know that there is a storyline, and then they can see how it's manifesting and growing, and also to improve their self-asset value and money, obviously. But yeah, no, the way to do it is hearts and minds of the people, and then they know you care. So no, that's good. Mervyn, just taking the being there and working with one team that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's so important. Now, when you meet the teams, and you've met so many now in the last year or so, which is fair play to you, that's brilliant. What has been a positive surprise and why? A surprise now. Right? I know you expect a lot, but what has been a positive surprise and why?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, so I'm rehearsed. So let me give you, I thought hard about that last night in the bar over a nice glass of wine. And it's always the things that come to your mind first. So the first 3 things that popped into my mind when I thought about your question were 3 places I've been to in the last year or so. I was in Ontario, which is the airport north of Los Angeles in Southern California.
Yeah.
And we have something called count up clocks, and it's the health and safety clocks, and it counts up from when you had your last personal injury or your last aircraft damage.
Yeah.
And they have been so successful. When I was there, they were putting in new clocks with an additional digit because they've been so successful. And I sort of thought, I can add no value here. I'll just leave now. But that really surprised me, and I was really impressed. I was in Las Vegas a while back, and the guys had taken on themselves to start, taking in old diesel tugs, old belts, and old tractor units. And they bought a 35K sort of pack, and they were transforming diesel little tractors and belts into electric belts and tugs, and they were spending about 35k, get another 10 years out of them, and they sort of started that off their own bat, and we have now said no thank you, well done, and we've obviously now made them a refurb plant for Menzies. So they did it off their own bat, and obviously we have latched on to it. And one I don't always totally understand, I was with Scott and the team in Hamilton in North Island, New Zealand last month.
Yeah.
And there we do line maintenance, which is not really my strength. But they had taken over an old hangar which had been disused for a long time, and they took it over. They refurbed it, rebuilt it, rekitted it out, and it was like, gosh, it was like being on the factory floor of Boeing or Airbus. You know, it was just a transformation. So those are the three things that, you know, struck me, that came to my mind first over the last year or so, Chris.
And it's great, isn't it, when people actually take things on themselves, initiatives, and there's so many everywhere. Yet those sort of things, Mervyn, they don't get published, do they? They don't get the recognition that they should do.
No, it's lovely. You know, when obviously we integrated NAS into Menzies, I got lots and lots of new friends and 55 stations. And there was a few stations I went to where the people sort of took you by the hand and showed you around and said, look, you know, we're sort of, you know, basically in a small station, and we're quite far from anywhere. And we've got older equipment, but look at this. This is how we maintain it. This is how we look after it. Look how we got the workshop. Look how we look after the tools. Everything is place for everything. And they were so proud, you know. Yeah. So it's great when you see people, you know, just taking pride in the job, pride in what they do. And you know, it makes the day and the job worthwhile.
Yeah. Now, if you look after your equipment, like the old saying goes, many a good tune can be played on an old fiddle.
I hope that's true, as I'm 64 next month.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sure. Now, another question for you, and I know you've got good opinions and good thoughts on this, but our industry is over flooded, some would say, with representative bodies and associations who are all basically aiming at the same milestones, targets, and objectives. They're all vying for importance, impact, and value. You know, what do you feel are the key and critical areas that the GHA specifically, the GHA community, should address collectively? Okay.
There's one that comes to mind above all others, is electric GSE.
Yeah.
So our friends in the OEMs like Malahans and TLD and Schaff and Treble and Guanta and all these people, they've made tremendous strides forward with electric equipment and with battery life. So, you know, they've done a great job. And we want, as we, you know, invest in new equipment every year, we want to just buy and lease electric.
Yeah.
But the issue we've got is, where do we plug it in?
Exactly.
So that's the one that we need help with. We want to, you know, every week, most days, we're looking at investments, and we say to the guys, it has to be electric, guys. It can't be diesel or gas. And they say, well, but where do we plug it in? How do we plug it in? So that's what we need help with. We need airport authorities to basically, you know, have the grid, have the power supply, have the charging points, have the plug-in points to support our kit, to support everyone else's kit. But that's the biggest challenge we have, and that's what we need. And, you know, it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do for, you know, the planet. It's the right thing to do for your ESG strategy. But also, electric kit spends half the time in the workshop that conventional kit does. It's got less moving parts. It's easier to use. It's easier to maintain. It is the future, but we need places to plug it in. And, you know, and some airports are great. Like LA is fantastic. They're sort of giving us more charging points. We took over the EasyJet operation in Malpensa in Milan, and it's a complete electric kit. And you know what we've seen? Like, I know nothing about this, but I just need stuff that works, places to plug it in. But in Malpensa, you've got all those light stanchions that obviously light up the apron at night, but during the day, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
So like in Malpensa, they've got sockets off the bottom of every light stanchion that are idle during the day, and we charge off those during the day, and obviously they light up the apron at night. So the biggest thing we need help with is where we can plug our kit in, and our kit can be supported in every airport.
Yeah,
I suppose that's the big one. A couple of other things would be, as an industry, we're not probably, like, you're the same age as me. You joined Lufthansa, I joined Aer Lingus. When you and I joined, it was quite a sexy place to work. It was quite a sexy job, But now, I don't know, my children, Generation Z, they spend lots of time on iPhones and laptops, and they spend lots of time on social media. So, together, we just need to make the business we need to make the sector a bit more interesting, a bit more sexy. We need people to join. We find if we get people to join and they stay with us maybe 18 months, they're lifers.
Yeah.
But we need to get them to stay that long. So as an industry, we need to make ourselves a little bit more appealing.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the third thing I thought about, which you won't have seen coming, is, and this is just one of my own. Basically, in the airlines are great customers. They get their revenue in, for domestic tickets, an average of 90 days before the event. For international tickets, maybe 120 days, 130 days before the event. And then obviously we handle, and our biggest cost is labor.
Yeah.
So we've got to pay our people every 7 days, every 14 days, every 30 days. And we usually extend anything from 15 to 30 days credit. So the airline gets their money 90, 100, 120 days beforehand. We get our money maybe about 40, 30, when we get 40 odd days afterwards. We see a move that the airlines are asking for more credit. We've seen where they want to go to 60 days or, God forbid, 90 days. And actually, you just want to say, guys, it just doesn't work. You'll break the model, because you get the money in advance, we get the money in arrears, but our biggest cost is labor, which we must pay every week, every 2 weeks, every month. So we do need to stick to the sort of the credit terms that has actually made the business thrive over the last 40 years. So I think that's maybe just a personal one, but that's probably the third one I think we need to work on, just about credits.
Yeah, and with that concept in mind, it's a useful thing to do and to measure. Do you not think that's something that could be put into contracts moving forward, that if a percentage of the forecast costs was paid in advance, it would be beneficial to the party that was paying in advance?
No, we do have some contracts where we're paid in advance. We obviously have contracts where people pay late, interest is applied, etc. But every one size doesn't fit all. I understand that. So every airline different, contract different, station different. But it's just one of my little ones. I think everyone would agree on electric. I think everyone would agree on making us a bit more sexy, a bit more sticky. But also just need to ensure that the sector has the cash flow to keep it churning over. And what we currently have sort of works, I think. No, so let's not break it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. And one of the things you said there about like the infrastructure and the charging points, I mean, it's logical and it makes sense. And from a sustainability perspective, it also makes sense. So why do you think, and this is a reflection on us as well, but why do you think, the regulators, associations, stakeholders, everybody talks about collaboration, Mervyn, everywhere you go. Collaborate here, collaborate there, share data here, share data. It doesn't happen. So that change, why can it not be more effective? And one of the areas that I've always, ever since I've been in this business, the amount of bloody audits that take place and the quality of the audits, and when the audits do take place, the wasted time and costs that are associated with that, when I would say, rule of thumb, at least 60% of them produce diddly squat, apart from a pain in the neck and administrative focus. Why can't we do things that make sense?
I think, as you know, we are actually making some strides in that direction. Basically, with the sort of global audit programs and people accepting sort of the one audit. So we're making steps in that direction. Like, as you know better, like you and I have talked about it in the past. We have an industry body who represents us, ASA, and I think, to be fair to them, we haven't funded them well enough. And like, let's be honest, I don't think we've funded them well in the past. So Steve and Donata and Warwick and Swissport and Hassan and Menzies, like, they have got together and they realize that, to have a body to drive forward, things that we believe in, electric, safety, training, basically the appealability of the ground handling sector. We've got to work together. And I think, to be fair to the three lads, they have put their hands in their pocket and they are funding ASA better. And like, we're going to try and actually up our game and improve, that sector, improve that body that sort of represents us in the sector, so we can drive things forward together. Like, obviously we'll always be competitors and we'll compete on quality and service and price and global network and relationships and all that stuff. Yeah. But, we have got things about, as you say, the global audits, the training, the safety, the appealability of the business. There's things we can work on together to make it better. So I think, to be fair, not often I'm nice to my boss and nice to the bosses of my competitors, but here's once. So basically, I think my boss and the bosses of my competitors have got together. They've put their hands in their pocket and they are doing something with ASA to make it better, so we can actually drive change in the areas we agree on.
Yeah, it's long overdue, Mervyn, because also, like, you've been touching, introducing yourself and seeing what's going on the ground. The people on the ground are a lot wiser than they're given credit for. They also need to see, some good, solid, direct leadership that makes common sense and gives a benefit for everybody.
No, we're like, we like, when you get to my age, you've got lots of truisms, and a truism I've been saying for ages is, we don't get bad staff, it's just how we manage them. And the truism is, we've got 265 stations. If the manager in a station is very, very good, the people will be well communicated with. They'll be on, we'll have the same values, we'll be going in the same direction, and we'll have a great station. Where we don't get the manager quite right, if we get the manager wrong, then we usually get the station wrong. So we have got, we started just over 30 years ago. Menzies Aviation didn't have one employee. And we go back to 1833 and distribution and logistics and all that good stuff. But in 1933, and that's 1833, in 1993, we didn't have anybody. And today, we've got 45,000 staff. Yeah. And we're in 61 countries and we're in 265 stations. And it's all about the people. It is all about the people. And, no matter where I've been recently, I've been to Baghdad, I've been to Entebbe, I've been to Bogota, I've been to Johannesburg, I've been all over the place. And everywhere I've been, we're just lucky to have the people. We're lucky to have the people, and we have got a great responsibility to give them a pledge to manage them properly and do our job properly, because you get the people you deserve. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's and the secret of success is, people, process, and then performance. And if that's all done right, you can have one eye looking at profit. So it's logical again, and it's always the people that matter, Mervyn. And you're always it's good to see that you're always focusing on that. So fair play to you. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And it's always, it really is. It's always a pleasure. I feel like Michael Parkinson with Billy Connolly. You know what I mean? There's always something interesting and always something that makes sense.
Well, Billy Connolly is obviously a big fan of Billy Connolly. He's much funnier than I'll ever be. But it's always good to talk to you, Chris. And when you're down London Irish tomorrow, I'll be in a bar here watching Ireland. I hope giving England a good thumping.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's a fair forecast. I think probably by about a 15-point spread, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I hope so.
I'll be thinking of you. All right.
Okay. Look after yourself.
Thanks, Mervyn.
See you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.